Material for the brain. Conversations for thinking bodies. Hello and welcome to another episode of Material for the Brain podcast. My guest for today is Eva-Maria Kraft, a contemporary dancer, dance teacher, and a choreographer for humans and robots. She is also the founder of the dance studio RAUM for TANZ in Vienna and teaches internationally for beginners and professional dancers. Her artistic projects move at the interface of different art fields and sciences, explores bodies and artificial bodies, and are based on the real-time composition of movement. She is also a member of the trans-disciplinary research group H.A.U.S, where she deals with artificial intelligence and choreographs and performs with humanoid robots. My recent encounter with Eva was in June 2021. She invited me to join a research session of her group H.A.U.S, in which I was interacting and improvising with a humanoid robot. This experience opened many fundamental questions about human behavior, technology, ethics, and more. And since then, I wanted to invite Eva to this space and to have the chance to further explore the themes that this project is opening up. I find it very important to have such conversations also on a more broader context, and I hope that it will inspire you to become more interested in shaping future conversations around the interaction between humans and machines. So here she is, Eva-Maria Kraft. Hello, Eva. How are you?
Hi, Martin. I'm fine, thank you.
Welcome to my... I'm very good. I'm excited to have you here. Welcome to my podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's been... I think last time I saw you was in the Technische Universität, no? Like when we had this session together.
Mm-hmm.
It's been quite some time. Maybe you could update me a bit, like how are you? What are you busy doing now in Vienna? Or if you're in Vienna?
Yeah, I'm in Vienna right now since, most of the time since this pandemic time. And yeah, I'm quite good. So I have a very special year this year because I got a nice funding of Vienna and can do really focus on my research. So I had somehow a shift also in my life with this new year, what is very relaxing, but also very exciting as well, because I can really focus first time super relaxed on my research and don't have to produce a lot. So I can do really what I will work on is artificial bodies is my topic for this whole year, and I'm just jumping in it. This is what I'm in, I would say, for 3-4 years already, and now I can really work it out.
Who gave you the budget? It's the
City of Vienna, the
MFTB.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the art coming from the art direction, the funding.
Yeah,
cool.
It's the stipendium, this 1 year stipendium. They had the scholarship was written out, and I got one, and it's really wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds like a big relief to have time for research, no?
Yes, yeah. It's really it's like, and especially in those times as well. So I have a plan for the whole year and can just work and research. It's really, I love it. But it's really a shift also in my life, because I was teaching a lot and now I stop it a little bit or reduce it a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah, you have also your own studio, no, in Vienna?
Mm-hmm. Right, the RAUM for TANZ. It's my place in Neubaugasse, and there I teach normally or meet other people or rehearse, and now I can use it for my own daily work, not working in the evening always. This is great. Good. Yeah.
Cool, that's very nice. And what I wanted to, I invited you mainly because of the connection that we had through your project. That I got introduced to the working with the AI robots. Is it okay to call it like that? Am I saying it correctly?
Yeah, or with the humanoid robot, it's more, there was no AI at that time developed, but like the robot, yeah.
But before we jump into that, I wanted just to give you a bit of time to introduce yourself so that our audience could know a little bit more who you are, what's your background, what brought you to become a dancer who is dancing with humanoid robots.
Yeah, so I'm a contemporary dancer and choreographer and also teacher. And I had this typical dancer's life. So I started with 2.5 years with dancing. I wanted to dance. Nobody knew why this child wants to dance. And I pushed my parents, really let me go. And I'm from the countryside, so not from a city. So I was born in Salzburg on the countryside, and it was not so easy to find a place where I could dance, but I made it and never stopped till then. And came to Vienna when I was 18, and then did my studies at MOOC, the TANZ so the teaching version. And then I immediately started dancing afterwards and also teaching. And I did, besides of the dance, I did this, I'm working a lot with nutrition for dancers and also craniosacral therapy. So
this is actually when we met, I think, for the first time.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because you gave a nutrition workshop where I studied in SEED. I remember that.
Wow.
I still remember our conversation. You were the one who is supporting me to eat more proteins.
Yeah, we met there for the first. Wow, it's so long ago.
Yeah. No, I remember that very clearly.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and this is what I still do till today. So I'm working a lot at the moment with young dancers about nutrition, and I really love that. It's somehow different, but it's also like scientific in a way. This is what I like with it, and have this touch to people about this topic. It's very topic. I really like it. Yeah. But the main thing was always the dance, so it's still that way. And then my interest for artificial intelligence and robots is quite old. So my brother, he is a manager, so very different to me, and he once had a project where he programmed football player robots. So it was really long. It was like beginning of 2000 where this was pretty new. And he started to program those little machines who could play football and push a ball, and it was like football games and championships in Italy where he went to. And I was always like, wow, he can do that. And I was always fascinated somehow by that. Just interested and went always to like the Ars Electronica festival in Linz because I like those machines and this combination with art. And then I found artificial intelligence and was really touched by it. And then there was in 2017 was a workshop at Impulsdance about AI and dance, which was held by Robert Trappel, who is this very he's a scientist about artificial intelligence, but he loves to dance, so the other way around. And he gave a workshop for dancers there, but there were mainly scientists. So there were just 2 dancers, me and another guy. It was really weird because we did not dance at all or tried it on the first day, but we let it go. And there I met this group with the robot, which I'm collaborating since then. And they were searching for an artist in their project because they were mainly like robot scientists or architects and philosophers. So a very nice group of people, a trans-disciplinary group. But they were looking for artists at that time, and there we met. So the coincidence. And then we decided to meet, and I went to the university, to the technical university, and could meet the robot there for the first time. And I was like, wow, okay. And then we started to research and did really like 1 year, nearly 1 year, just talking, finding out how the scientists think, what they are interested in, what I'm interested in with this robot, what can we do, what can we not do. And yeah, really got a deep research for nearly 1 year. And then it was popping up that we got so many invitations to show like pieces or lectures, and from the scientific side, but also from the art side. And it was like, okay, we need now pieces. We have to do pieces or formats that we can present. And we were really pushed in that. And it was a super good time, which was now like around 3 years, where we developed like 18 different formats, and really from lectures to lecture performances to pure performances. And yeah, still we are here. And this is, for me, it got my main project in my life in the last year. Yeah, it still attracts me, this machine design, programming, this other world, but combined with my world. It's yeah.
How many years you've been collaborating already together, the group?
Since 2017 or 18, we started. Okay. Yeah, so 4.
Yeah, and the name is H.A.U.S. No, I pronounce it H.A.U.S.
Yeah, it's a synonym for humanoids in architecture and urban spaces. Cool. So, or an acronym, not a synonym. Acronym.
And just kind of a question, just a little bit about your background, what you're doing. I'm just curious before we dive into the main topic that we are here. Like, what is your relationship, like your internal relationship between the artist and the teacher and the nutritionist? It's like, is there any like direction that you really identify more, or that is pulling you more? Or do you said that like the nutrition was always interesting, but a little bit less, but the teaching aspect for you is it something like from the identity that is important for you?
Yeah, totally important. This is where I developed this now for 20 years, my kind of teaching. And what I love in teaching is this being together with one topic. And this one is related to dance. And it doesn't matter then if it's nutrition, or if it's like contemporary ballet, what I'm teaching a lot, or if it's improvisation, what I teach. So it's always this being into the topic of dance at the same time, at the same place. And everybody really focused on that. And we do it together, and then we go away. And this is so fascinating for me, that we can meet each other around one topic, and then we spread again. And that's this is teaching for me, this coming together and going into it, and then let it go and come again. So
yeah. I mean, what I find like quite particular, just observing what you've built, is that like first it's not very common for dancers to become entrepreneurs and studio owners. It's like it's a big step, which already indicates a certain level of willingness to take risks and to commit, which I find it like pretty rare. No, it's like, how many people you know in Vienna that open their own dance studio? No, it's quite rare.
Yeah, I was always, I did all those things very intuitively, because why I wanted to have my own space was because I'm teaching just adults, and I need to teach in the evening. So I had always to find good places where I can have many evenings, because I was teaching up to 3 evenings a week. And then I found out, okay, I cannot find one place. It's so hard to find a good place and a place where I get my 3 evenings that I want. And then I decided, okay, I have to do it on my own. And this is why I got places or found places where I can do that. And sometimes I think like you do now, and I'm wondering, okay, I was so that is so a big step, and I did it 10 years ago already, before I was 30, and I thought, okay, wow. But for me, it was so normal or necessary at that time that I didn't think about it, what this means. And I really grew into that, because, okay, then I had a place. Okay, then I had to organize it. And I'm quite good in organizing. And this, I also like that. And then I thought, okay, this is a thing that is not hard for me, but I can have my really own place created like I need it, and have those evenings that I want or these times that I want. And it's so normal somehow for me, those things. Yeah, it develops by itself. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the reason why I find it interesting, because it demands to some degree a very different type of personality than the typical needs for an artist personality. Because as a studio owner, as you said, like you have to be extremely organized. I can just imagine, like now I'm organizing a few continuous program, and I see the amount of administration work and the demand for like efficiency and organization, and I can just imagine that to own your own studio is pretty complicated. And then in order to be an artist, on the other hand, you need to have like orderliness is not what you need when you want to create art, because you need to have, like creativity, and creativity emerges out of chaos. So it's really interesting that you can hold both of these hats simultaneously.
Yeah. I'm also sometimes wondering about, because people sometimes ask me if it doesn't block each other. Like you said, it's like when you go into in a process for arts, you need this creativity and let go all these structures. But I always think I do it because I'm so structured, I can really get rid of it, because I can really do like that, and then I'm completely off. But I know, I feel secure because I have my structures. I have my place. I know what is happening there. I'm not stressed. Yeah. And this is also because, I teach ballet and I teach improvisation. So for me in dance, this is really the other side of the range. And I need this for my body to be stable and clear, the ballet thing. This is really like my structure. And then I can go into at the other end. And I think this is what I'm doing as well with this organizing stuff. And then I can relax when this is fine and go and be very open. I think this is at the moment my thought about it, how I do it. Yeah.
No, I'm pretty inspired. I was also, before Corona came, I was thinking about maybe I should start searching for a place of my own, and then Corona started, so I was of course backing off. But yeah, now it becomes also more necessary. So yeah, maybe I'll catch up with you for a conversation about that in another situation.
anytime, please. Yeah, really do it. Yeah.
I wanted to start diving into the topic of what you're doing with your collective H.A.U.S. And I thought just to start with like maybe a basic question, but like why this multidisciplinary approach, and like what are you? Why to mix art with science? It's a big question, but like not to give any universal answer, but what is there for you? And maybe you can also tell us which individuals are in the collective and what are their roles, so that we can know a little bit like from which disciplines are co-creating this project that we will talk about. So.
Yeah, I found out at one point that scientists are very close to artists. So the way of thinking is totally different, but somehow the same, because they are extremely creative in my view. So, but we cannot understand it when we meet them first, or when we meet each other first, I would say, because it's the same for them when we talk about some topics. And I like this way of thinking because it's somehow so familiar to me, but it's also so strange. And at that point, I sometimes get very inspired because it's so different. And I do not get anything. I sit there and I think, what are you talking about? And then I give, at the beginning, I was always like, when I just had the experience with working with other dancers or choreographers, and then we find a common language very easily normally, and yeah, sometimes not, but yeah, normally, normally it works in the
overall arch, yeah,
yeah. But with scientists, it was like, okay, I tried to explain them from my point of view and they didn't get me. And I thought, okay, how can we ever solve that thing? And somehow it worked, but it took a lot of time, or still it takes a lot of time, because the point when we really understand each other, it takes really long sometimes. But this is so fascinating for me. I'm always like, I'm a slow person with those processes. I also love this durational improvisations. I could improvise for hours. Yeah, I love this. This is really like, so I can talk to people for hours, and it's okay if it's not on the point immediately. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Yeah. And there I get inspired from this process, I would say.
Could you maybe elaborate a little bit more? Because for me, like, because I don't have the experience, it's I can imagine it, but I would be really curious to understand a bit more. Like, what do you see? What are the similar things that you see between somebody who is working as a scientist, who is trying to, I don't know, to find some empirical evidence for something that would connect to their hypothesis or whatever, and an artist who comes with a certain artistic aspiration to reflect on some cultural phenomena? So what is the similar thing that you say, like, yeah, it's so much the same, and then what are the things that really makes it goes apart? Why is it so difficult to communicate? Is it about the fact that they use very different terminology, or it's because they have different knowledge that you don't have, or like what creates this ability to understand one another?
I would say that the very common thing is the creativity, because they focus on proved things. Yeah, so they want to prove everything, and really scientists really want to have a clear structure, and it is very determined how it has to be. But if they find something that they want to research on, they are super creative in their ways how to get there. Yeah, but when they are close to it, then it gets very structured. And this is where I always, as an artist, have to go away, because then it's like, okay, I don't have to prove anything. And I like this structured way of thinking. And this is always where I have to catch myself and say, okay, you don't have to show on stage proof things. Yeah, it is not possible. So that's the point where we go away. But before this, researching and how to find things, or they are really creative in inventing things. So to find, so we have one topic and they find many side topics. This is super fascinating for me, how it's super creative. And this is what we share somehow, but in a really different way. So that the things that pop up are so different, but this creative thinking way is the same.
And which disciplines are there in the group?
This is, we have the human-robot interaction. So this is HRI, human-robot interaction, which are the programmers in a way, who program the robot or control the robot. So
they come from computer science, or
yes,
not necessarily? Okay.
Yeah, so they are engineers.
Yeah, engineers.
And then we have theory, so the theoretical part, and philosophy, where we also talk a lot about these ethical things. So what does it mean, a machine and a human? What do we want to tell also or transport to the public about? Yeah, so there are so many things like gender, also like emotions, or this whole anthropomorphism, so that we want to see humans in robots, and we give them the feelings, etc. So we are very much reflecting on that. So what we want to transport there, or what is the shape of the robot, for example, because it looks like a child, or it's a very bad shape, so that we really keep in mind what we are doing, to get not lost in our own view. And that's it mainly. And music. So musicians are always coming in. So that's the other art side.
Okay.
Yeah, and from technical side, there are some specific more. They are all a little bit divided, but I don't know exactly what they are. But they are from computer science or artificial intelligence, or from that.
Interesting. So you mentioned that you've kind of from before the project you had some attraction to technology and design and like so. Could you elaborate a little bit more? Like what is pulling you into this world? I'm asking it because, I think like that, again, it's something that I would say that it's a little bit atypical for somebody who's working in the dance field to be attracted to something that is so far from the human, let's say, and like that, that to some degree is even antibody. And most dancers, we are so fascinated with the body, with kind of more biological structure. So I'm curious to kind of take a glimpse into your mind. What is there for you that is pulling you into these topics?
I think it's movement. So it's the moving. As soon as technology starts to move, I'm in this moving, watching. So I want to watch movements, and they are moving different to humans. So I analyzed a lot the movement of humans. So I know this very well. It's very familiar to me. And also when I watch it, it's okay. And then there are some different movements when machines move. So, and I think I'm just fascinated by that kind of speed or changing of directions or also the smoothness. It's very unhuman in a way, but I can analyze it with my brain, dancer's brain. I can analyze it, but I cannot really do it or feel it, because when I watch a dancer, a human dancer, I really can move. Also, if I just watch, I can feel it very clearly what this dancer is doing, and I can translate it to my body even if I don't move. But with this, it was always like new impressions, and I thought, okay, and I know I can not do some moves that those machines do, and I think it's really the movement what is attracting me.
Interesting. And so the movement is pulling you in, and like from a point of view of a dance artist, choreographer, is it something that you're also interested in analyzing for the sake of finding new inspiration for you as a mover, or is this kind of what is the direction that you're going with it?
Yeah, this was or is still a quality that I'm very much searching with the robot that I'm working with. So I could say now, after 3 years, that I've developed like a way of moving that is like it's so hard for me to explain, because it's like this machine is empty. Yeah, this is just plastic and some metal. And when I move with this machine, it feels like empty. It's a cool movement, but it's empty. And I tried to embody this empty or dead. I don't want to call it dead. This is somehow, because it's also human. Yeah. So it's like empty for me. And I wanted to incorporate that. So to embody that. And this is what I always do when I'm working with the robot. I really try to let myself influence a lot by this emptiness somehow. And this is what I got after 3 years. I can feel it very clearly in my body. And this is new to me, because I cannot have it from a human or somebody else. And this is like a new quality or new way of moving or experience movement, and that's wow.
This I must say, like I want to understand more what is, and maybe you said that it's a bit difficult, but I would be curious to see if we can open it up a little bit more. So I agree, dead would indicate that it was alive, because now it's dead, so it cannot be dead. But when you say empty, like could you try to find maybe other words for me to connect to it? It's okay if not. I'm just curious.
No, that's good, because I'm also curious, because I cannot talk too much about that with anybody. So it's very interesting for me to really reflect also on that. I would say when I try to focus on that, if I imagine now this way of moving, it's somehow a mixture about not about moving and being moved. So this mixture of this like being moved, being controlled somehow. And I feel like my skin is empty, so that there are no bones and no blood and no flesh and etc. inside of it. It's like being also empty. And I can control it by myself, but at the same time, it feels like a little bit like controlled in a way. And it's not that the structure is also not like, if you do contact with someone, it's really like flesh on flesh or skin or whatever. And this is very like technical. Yeah, like plastic, it's empty, it's just a shell which is moving but controlled at the same time, like that. Maybe I would explain it.
Now that I hear this elaboration, it connects me to something that I read in your website. Maybe I will read also this quote for the audience. The fragile connection with a lifeless piece of matter becomes an uncanny experience. It is performing with the non-human in us humans. And it seems to me like kind of that this is kind of the direction that it opens up. So what is it for you, this non-human in us that is being amplified, or that you can suddenly see a clearer reflection through the interaction with a machine?
Yeah, this is like a development of this process when I started to work with the robot. And this is the problem, or the interesting thing at the same time, with humanoids, because they are built to give us the impression that they are like human. And we cannot change that really, because our brains are functioning like that.
Sorry to interrupt, but could you explain to everybody, because I've seen the robot, but could you explain to the audience what is a humanoid robot? Because I've seen it, but I guess if I wouldn't have seen it, I wouldn't know what it is.
That's true. Yeah. It's maybe some of the listeners know it's the model Pepper, so it's pretty well known already. So it's a like 1.20 meters tall white robot, which has kind of a shape of a child, I would say, and a really big head with big eyes, so a very friendly one, I would say, and has 2 arms. So a moving head, and 2 arms, no legs. It's just one piece instead of legs, with rolls. So it moves on rolls. Yeah. And also can move its upper body, and so it reacts. It can react on you, and also has cameras in the eyes, can see you somehow. And it's built like a human, but not too human. This is sometimes what is also done, because the more human it is, the more uncanny it is. This was found out that we get scared at a certain point. So this is maybe the reason why it's smaller, it looks like a child, so that we accept it, because otherwise we humans get too scared of humanoid robots when they are too human. So they are built sometimes like not too human. But this always triggers in our minds, oh, it looks at me. Wow, look, it raises its hands. We immediately, it doesn't matter where we went with this robot, everybody reacts like that. So wants to say hello and how are you and do you see me immediately, yeah, and wants to interact. So this is so human and this is so nice to observe. And if the robot then reacts, it's like, wow, we are super happy. And I knew I have to go beyond that, because it triggers this all the time. When I see the robot, I'm like, yeah. And then I have to really, okay, it's the machine. It's my partner. We know each other. We have no relationship. We have no emotions for each other. It's just in my brain. And this is what I wanted to go beyond. And this is what I always say when I talk about this unhuman part in myself. This is what I have to activate then, because otherwise I would always just kiss this robot and target it.
Okay, I start to understand what you mean. So to some degree, and maybe this is kind of a whole new part in the culture that is opening to ask ourselves, like, what kind of relationships we are building with lifeless machine. And that's the unhuman that you are trying to refer, like what other ways we can react to something that reminds us human, but is definitely not a human. No?
Yeah.
So what are you discovering? How do you do you shut it down, or do you come to a different state of mind, or what is happening for you?
At the beginning, I really have to shut it down. So I have to push myself a little bit to not fall into these reactions. But then I get, this is what I've developed, this sense of moving and being in contact with the machine. This is another state of mind, I guess, because sometimes I just improvise with the robot for like half an hour or what, and then I'm completely in a different, it's like improvisation. And this is, I'm always wondering myself if this is like, if it's somehow the same state, if I'm doing this with a human, or if it's different. I'm not sure, because this is then this improvisation mode. And then I really take the reactions also of the robot for sure. But I'm still aware that this is not a human, and this is controlled by someone, and this is not my partner as a human. I don't want to see this machine as a human. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because, when you share this kind of scenario of somebody encountering the robot and then they are happy to interact and it's all happily and giggly, in my mind, I had immediately some dystopian picture of like, okay, somebody is more like controlling the robot and playing with you. So you're the object rather than that you are the, and because that's the kind of hit. I mean, until we come to a point that the robot has its own independent consciousness, we are not really interacting with anything that is in front of us, no?
Yeah.
But there is this, like when I was there, you said, when I was coming to the studio to meet you guys and be part of that for one session, you said that the AI layer was not there yet, no?
No.
So could you first briefly explain like what is the I mean, okay, AI, artificial intelligence, but what does it mean in the context of this robot, and so to which degree the robot is intelligent and to which degree it's independent?
Mm-hmm. So the robot in general is not artificially intelligent or anything. It's like a mobile phone. It's a shell and it's programmed. So also there is one mode that the robot has that you can activate, which is called autonomous life. And in this mode, the robot reacts on noise or on light. So if somebody talks, the robot turns to this person. So it's really like reacting somehow. But this program is also programmed. Yeah, at least from it's all our desires, human desires are programmed in this machine. Yes, like you said before, it's always this reflecting with ourselves, at least, because this machine was built by humans, and all these things we want this robot to do are imagined by humans. So this is always our self-reflection, these machines. I was always interested in, first, how we can learn the robot to move like me or the other way around. So this was a long programming phase and thinking about who controls whom and all those things. And Daria, one of the programmers, she built an imitation system, which you were also working with, where through a camera, outside camera, the robot can really imitate your own movements. So this is already pretty far, but it's like mirroring. Yeah, it's the same. It's like mirroring movement. And we always develop those very concrete things. So, but then I start playing with it and want to go to the borders of this system, also find out the borders of this thing. And then I managed it for a few times that I could confuse the system that far that nobody knows anymore what the robot will do next. And this is what we are working with, for example, in performances. And this is what I call at the moment improvisation with the robot, that I confuse the system that far that it gets out of control. So we don't know what will happen. And this is what I was always interested in. But this is still a program that is running and I confuse it. So this is how I deal at the moment. And the next step that we are in now, or what we are starting now, is really to program AI, artificial intelligence, for improvisation, so that we can improvise with a machine. And at the moment, it should be embodied by this robot, but it can be embodied by different machines or a screen or a stickman on a screen, whatever. So it's really about developing an improvisation tool for dancers by a machine. So, this is like, for me, sometimes like a life project, I think, because I realized then when we were researching, we researched a lot on this last year. I found out what it really means to improvise. I was not, because for me it's so normal somehow, and I know theoretically about things about improvisation, yes, sure. But what is it then if you have a white piece of paper and you should write on what is improvisation all about? What are all the impressions that come to your mind, to your body when you improvise with somebody? Because we have to learn this, again, this artificial intelligence. We have to learn it at the beginning. We have to learn it to this system.
You mean that that you have to teach the principles in order that the machine could then do it? So that was, yes. Okay. I understand.
And getting intelligent, hopefully, and doing its own stuff. But at the beginning, we have to teach it. Yeah.
And what does it mean? Because maybe I'm ignorant to the subject, so maybe it's a very basic question, but still I want to ask it. What does intelligence means in the context of a machine? An ability to start learning by yourself, with that the programming enable you to develop the learning further than what the program is designed for? Or like to which degree does the intelligence manifest itself?
Yeah, this is all. This is an interesting question, because this is what I discuss a lot with also the people from artificial intelligence. What does it mean then? So my wish or my fantasy, I would say at the moment, it's still a fantasy, is that it could read movements. It could read my movements and react on me, but not just a variation out of my movements, but also deciding on its own impressions, whatever that means. Yeah.
Okay.
So like another human at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, it really opens. It's I think when I hear you, I can understand maybe more why is it important to some degree to have artistic inputs on a process that involves mainly maybe something that is so big on a technological level, because it can really alter fundamentally everything.
Yeah.
It's like when I think again, I have maybe specifically like this kind of dark mind that goes into, oh my God, this worst scenario could happen because of that. It's hard for me to focus on oh my God, this robot could help rescue people in the fire. No, I'm like, oh my God, we will have an army of robots stopping people in the street. That's what I always imagine. So
yeah.
Like, how do you interact with this in the project? Because you said we talk about ethics, we have a philosopher. Like, could you share a little bit like what is going on in the discussions, or what is your position about it? Like,
this is what we want to be dystopic. We want to be somehow utopic, but realistic at the same time. So we always want to show what machines really can do right now. So we never do a show. So what is the theater or pieces that we can see right now also is that there's always shown a show. It's a show, yeah, like robots can do anything already, or computer games or movies or whatever. So people really believe that robots can do anything, yeah, like you said, and then it's maybe most of the time it's dystopic, yeah. And we want to really show also those things where we can live with each other, so where we can get output of the other thing, yeah. So to integrate it, yeah, in a good way, somehow good way, yeah. And we are aware of this people are scared. People are also scared of our robot, yeah. So half of the audience, most of the times, is, whoa, no, I don't want to touch it. I want to get closer, even though it's a nice one, yeah, and it cannot hurt anyone, yeah. We really, this is also why we, for example, do not really stage pieces, because we always show that there is someone who controls the robot, because we do not bring the illusion to people that this robot is autonomous. It's not true. This is a lie, yeah, at the moment. And people think, they also think that Alexa or Siri, or how they are all called, that there is someone inside, or there's a person. People believe that, yeah, because it's functioning that well. Yeah, and that's really bad, I would say. So it's not good to tell people that story.
And why? You mean because it's a lie, or because like it's not good because of the false impression that it creates? You mean? Because the actual belief is problematic, like to imagine that there could be a life that is not human. You understand my question, or I'm not clear?
Yeah. I think I think the lie is my problem, because people, for example, with these Alexa and Siri, with those intelligences, it's really like people take it into their bedroom and don't think about it, yeah, or it's part of the in your living room when you eat with your family, and then there is Alexa on the side and tracks everything. And people do not know that, or do not want to know it, because it's so nice and it's so funny. And this is a lie somehow. So people want to have this nice gimmick, yeah, and play around with it, but they forget what is behind, or they do not know. So that also it is like somehow hidden, in a sense, and this is what I really don't like.
Yeah, I mean, it opens up the whole notion of privacy, who, like, you know, what we said, like what is behind the speaker, you know, like, yeah, it's really asymmetric. I think that's the biggest problem with it, you know, like it's so asymmetric, the amount of power and that those tech giant has with these technologies that are introduced to us. And yeah, and to which degree we can actually control our behavior in front of those technologies.
Yeah.
No. But this Pepper model, this robot, is there any, like, what does it has to do with the word now? So I met it in your research, but what is the application of this robot now? Is it being used practically in some spaces around the world? And for what?
The idea with Pepper was that it is the first robot that can live together with you in your flat at home, and is kind of cheap. It means it was 20,000 euros. If you buy it, you could buy it. Yeah, cheap, yeah. For a robot, but for a robot, yes, very cheap.
Yeah.
And you can have it at home like a big mobile phone that can do many things, and is like a friend who lives with you. This was the idea, but we heard now, I think it was 1 month or something ago, that they stopped the production of Pepper. So Pepper is old and Pepper won't be reproduced anymore. They produced, I guess, 20,000 pieces worldwide. Or they just sold 20,000 pieces or something. And this is far away from that, what they were hoping that will happen. So there are people, especially in Japan, or who live with Pepper, who have it really at home as a guest, let's say. But now we really also have the problem that we don't get any more peppers. So it's already old now. So we have to think about new. But it's also, you can see in that it doesn't work. People do not accept it. So it somehow, we have a strange relationship to those humanoids.
But what do people do with it at home? Like, okay, I mean, you have your particular interest, but what would the average person, what I'm trying to ask is, like, what are the benefits that the average person can enjoy with having a humanoid robot in their life? You know, like for me, maybe because I'm such attracted to the biology, it sounds even strange. Why would I want a piece of plastic around me talking or moving? But what do people get out of it? Do you have any clue, or like?
Now, Pepper is a social robot. It's a so-called social humanoid robot, and it can read your face, your expressions, and your emotions. So if you come home and Pepper sees you are somehow angry or tired or whatever, it can turn on the TV for you. So it depends on how you use it. Yeah, and this is like for people who are maybe alone or something. It's like a mate or like a friend. Okay. And it was also used, what is very nice, also here in Vienna, in a geriatric station. So for older people, and also for people with demence. What is it in English?
Dementia.
And they accepted Pepper very well, because they could recognize who they are and said, okay, so you are this and this person, and your room number is this and this. I guide you there. And they went with them when they were lost, for example. And this worked very well, and the acceptance was really high. So Pepper is a very, very social robot, and is also accepted. And I think this would be great. But it's special interest somehow. Yeah. So if you live with it, I cannot imagine as well.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting, because I remember that when I was with you guys in the studio, and okay, so we did in the initial phase, it was more like a technical exploration of the let's say the environment, and as a dancer I had to kind of see the technology and interact. But then at a later phase you allowed me to improvise, and I remember that the first thing that I was also trying to do is like to do a handstand and to confuse the system, like, okay. and I remember that, of course, I had so much emotional reactions, you know, like and I remember that there was even a moment that I kind of started to sense a certain, what is this weird intimacy that I'm developing here with this thing? or I even remember I felt sad for the robot because it got stuck somehow with a certain movement because I confused the system and it got stuck and it couldn't come out of it. And suddenly I felt like, oh, shame for him or he or whatever, or her, they, whatever is this thing, it. and it made me question, like, is there a possibility, like, is there a possibility to really experience intimacy with robots? Is it real? Is it intimacy something that is only in our brain, or intimacy has to also correspond with a certain empirical manifestation, you know? I believe yes, but I don't know. What do you think about it? If you found so far the conversation meaningful, please consider to share the episode with others and click the like button. These small actions might seem meaningless, but they are the fuel that helps the podcast project to keep moving forward. Your attention and time is highly valued, and we would love to hear more about the insights you might have from listening to this episode. And please consider to subscribe to the channel to be notified for all future uploads.
I feel this. I did explore a little bit of hugging the robot. What is it? How if we hug each other and stay in this hugging, and how is it to feel the skin or face to face? And I experienced a little bit with that, and I can feel this intimacy, but I guess that it is because there is the team around. So I feel more the group intimacy, I would say, because if I imagine I do that at home alone with this robot, just me and this robot, I won't feel that in this way. And I think it's more because I know that people are around, or I don't know, this is been spread out somehow. Yeah. But I think it's the whole thing with all these sex robots that are created, and I think it doesn't work. I think maybe for a short time it doesn't work. It would work. I can imagine that you get touched by this, yeah, but not satisfying for a longer time. So,
yeah, I mean, it really boils up to really, you know, it boils down into the big question of human nature, and, you know, what does it mean to be a human? Because I don't know, when I think about I don't know what you kind of describe, some old person who gets certain social robot, or some person who buys a robot that they can interact with, and then they come home sad, and then the robot turns on the TV and they kind of give the robot a hug, and there is so I think, like, you know, these ideas can really push the boundaries of how much your subjective experience is real. That's how I interpreted it. Like, because for me, intimacy would always involve a situation where I'm interacting with another living being, so that it's a shared experience. I can develop intimacy with myself, which would be different. And then it's like, if we start accepting, or for ourselves even, that I can experience intimacy with something that doesn't share it with me, or that its way of sharing is already predetermined by the way it was programmed. Yeah, it sounds for me like we are really pushing that, okay, that, you know, that's the matrix. No, it's like, okay, it doesn't matter what is real. You just plug your brain with some, you know, something that produces the right endorphins and hormones, and then that's real. No, I mean, that's how it feels for me, you know?
Mm-hmm. I somehow feel the same. So I think it will come to an end at one point. The more human a machine is, the longer it could work, I would say. This exchange, fake exchange, let's say. But I think this runs off at one point. Doesn't work anymore. Yeah, and I think this could be very frustrating and very lonely at the end.
Yeah, I can only imagine. But did you find yourself, because I know it happens sometimes when we go into improvisation, and also I read that you've been doing long session with the robot. By the way, you always refer it to as it, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I always tell, we try to do it in the group, really, to call it it, not he, she, they, whatever.
Okay.
It's it,
yeah.
the machine.
So, you know, when we go into our improvisations as dancers, I think one thing that I can kind of recall from experiences is this kind of losing the sense of time and, you know, like softening boundaries between concept and between different peoples and between you and the space and between you and other things. And I wonder if through the, like, if you could share, or maybe if there, like, some of your experiences while actually interacting with it, did you find yourself also getting kind of lost and like really kind of starting to a bit blur these clear boundaries between you and the machine? And like, how did it caught you in surprise, or like what is happening when you're spending a lot of time there? That now, when we cognitively speak about it, it's clear your position, but did you get lost in the improvisation? Did you need to detox from being too much next to the robot? Because you've been doing it for many years already. So I'm just curious, how does it affect the individual to spend so much time around that?
I get very lost with the robot. If I can be very free, play around very free with it, then I get very lost. But I feel very exhausted afterwards because there's so much concentration in a way. I don't need this with a human. When I improvise, then I'm not exhausted, maybe because I'm tired. Yeah, but this is an exhaustion because I know that until a certain degree I have to control at the same time the robot, because otherwise it doesn't work. So this is another part of my brain that is always activated, and this is super exhausting. So after 20 or 30 minutes, I'm done. I cannot go on. Then I really have to do a break. And this is not what I know with humans. So I don't have the feeling that I have to detox in a way, because I think this robot, it's not more than a computer or a laptop, I would say, from what I get on, because it's I think it's not exhaling something. So, but I have I need more recovery time, definitely. Yeah.
And one thing that okay, you say maybe what I meant detoxing, not in the sense of like that my body has to take any toxin, but like mentally, is it creating a certain kind of substantial confusion, or I don't know, because for me it's just this short amount of time that I spend. I could imagine that like on a certain emotional level, starting to develop a relationship with something that is not alive could be confusing, and it's not so easy to control ourselves. No, like as you said, like the default is like I come and like, there's a sweet robot, I want to hug it, but then I have to remind myself, okay, it's there's nothing there. But when you allow yourself to go into the improvisation, I guess it's hard to constantly be on guard, controlling that part of you. And I wonder how much you do allow yourself to go into fantasies with this machine.
That's super interesting. Because I never dreamed of this robot. What is also interesting, because normally I dream of people that I'm in contact with, and I never dreamed of this robot. I find out right now. Wow! I never dreamed of this robot. And I think because I'm doing such I'm focusing on so much no relationship to this thing, I don't get these fantasies or these imaginations. I guess it's because of that, because I'm so much focused on this no relationship. And what I really love, what is very unhuman, this is also a very unhuman part in myself, is that when we go to another country, we search there for a robot because we don't want to transport it because it's expensive and complicated, etc. So I just have another one. And I think, cool. And this is so unhuman because if I do a project with humans, I cannot say I go to Berlin now and I take another one. No.
Another model, another human model.
Yeah, doesn't matter. And we just take this one and the programmer starts it and it's the same. And it's really like, wow. And this is so, this is something that I experience as cool. I really like this, but it's so unhuman.
But it's interesting because I feel like to some degree, if I compare it to my short experience, which was really confusing, and I came out like, what is the hell is this? Like, how did I let myself have all this emotion towards a lifeless piece of plastic? Which I think, that's kind of what you also opened up with this thing describing the Alexa in the living table and people interact with it as if it's part of the family or whatever. But it seems like that you're developing a necessary emotional skill that is maybe so unintuitive initially, but it sounds like super healthy because I could imagine like that it like from my short experience, I could imagine like, oh my God, I would have such a confusing life if I would have to spend so much time with this thing. But it's so. Can you elaborate a little bit? How did you? What helped you to get there? Is it just like the conscious decision of the group, or do you do internal work with yourself, or like?
I think a lot. It was at the beginning. We talked a lot when we started this project, and it was always clear that our position is this is an it. So it's not a human. He, she, they, whatever. It's an it. So we decided this very early in this project, and I think this helped me to develop this from the beginning on. I guess I think this was a big thing for me, and also this we talked a lot about, or still talking a lot about this anthropomorphism. This giving the robot somehow human skills, that we don't want to transport that, we don't want to push that. It's not it's like a rule, not rules, or it's like our ethics, how we deal with the robot. And I think this helped me from the beginning on to find a way not to go too deep. And this is also why I was so interested in participating in this project, because when I watched other pieces before where humans and machines are on stage, it was too many times about this, oh, I love you so much, this robot, and we are like a relation, blah. Yeah. And I saw that and I thought, it doesn't touch me at all as audience, because it's not true. And it's what is the story? So what do you want to tell me? This is not in a contemporary way of thinking for me, what I saw on stage before, and I wanted to do it very differently. And then I thought, okay, I have to go another way, and it's not this telling stories with a robot and a human.
So and what is the, and from the artistic point of view, what is your quest? Or what is your, if it's not about, if the dramaturgy is not about telling a story, what are you interested in? Because I've watched a little bit, because you've sent me the material, and I will also share it in the show notes, that people who are interested can also watch the stage work. What is it for you?
For me, it's like being as unconcrete as possible with the robot, in a sense of gestures. So being not doing human gestures like the hugging. We did it once in a piece, but on a very specific place. I would never ever do that. Otherwise, it's more for me to build a situation where people are invited to reflect on their feelings about this machine thing. And there is a woman and a machine, so that they have enough time to get used to this setting, and then have time to reflect, okay, what can I see now in that? I experienced that we need to work pretty slowly, that people have enough time, because for many people in the audience, it's the first time that they see a robot live. Yeah, many people until now haven't seen a robot live ever in their life. So they are confronted then with a robot and they need time to breathe. Okay, and there is a robot that moves. What is it doing? Do I have to be scared? Okay, no, she's moving with it. So it's very unconcrete and abstract what we are doing, so that people can project their own things in it. And this is what is highest level for me, artistic wise, to be very abstract and inconcrete in kind of being human with together.
Yeah, it's it sounds for me a little bit more what is necessary, I would say. Like if I would think about it from like the cultural point of view and how it can affect us, because yeah, just again, as you said, like just showing that, okay, I have a love story or a sad story or a happy story with a robot. It's not, as you say, it's to some extent, it's just to amplify a certain lie, fundamental lie, which is not real. But yeah, I just, what for me is the most difficult, because I could imagine that your project is not something that is happening all over our culture, and that those technologies are developing in a pace that is much faster than our ability to understand their impact. Like always, no? And yeah, maybe every generation has the fear that like, oh my God, we have the most complex problems. But I think that, you know, life do become more complex as we go, and the questions that are opening with this, it's like enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't. Yeah,
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, this is what we really want to show, and this is why I think that art is so important in this topic, that we give the possibility to many people to get in touch by these topics in a different way, in a different setting, so that we are not so overwhelmed by it. And I'm really wondering why there is so little theater in general about this. So we can see sometimes like these love stories somehow with machines on stage, but this critical way of thinking in this huge thing about AI, etc., is so little. And I'm really fascinated why art doesn't catch it, or what is the problem, why art is so slow with that, because we are really far behind. Like you said, it's like it's exploding. Yeah, these technologies are exploding, and where is art? Yeah, where is art to discuss it?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I could imagine as the reason for the problem, and yeah, I mean, it's just an intuition, is that I mean, yeah, this whole phase of exponential technologies is relatively new now in human history, and I have the feeling that at least in the dance field, I mean, the majority of the people that I know are not very technologically oriented individuals. So me, I'm coming from computer. You know, I didn't study computer science, but I was working in the tech industry before I transformed my life into a dancer, and I'm also working as a web designer. I'm coding. For me, it's not so far away to I have some hooks in my mind that I can click and be interested. But for me, our at least in Vienna, our artistic scene is just trapped with identity politics. So it's just so hooked about that it's like anything that doesn't deal with that is irrelevant. But to some degree, I think that like what you're dealing with will definitely have whether we like it or not, it will have in the next 30 years a huge impact on our lives, when we are just rushing like maniac to develop those artificial spaces, whether it's going to be virtual reality or artificial form of living, interacting machines. So I think it's going to be much more substantial. But yeah, I guess it's a combination between the individuals who are just less technically oriented. Because yeah, I for example, even just the shift from physical to online took, the dance world is still not handling it in any way, you know, like it's like most of the time, like I remember that when this pandemic started and I was teaching online, then I invited a friend a friend wanted to jump in just to see what I'm doing. And he's not a dancer, he's coming from different field. And then at the end of the experience, he told me, look, it was really nice, but I could hardly hear you properly and the camera quality was shitty. And I didn't even think about it when I was broadcasting, you know. So, and to some degree, I'm a person that the moment he told it to me, you know, I was like researching, okay, how to connect my DSLR to a webcam and getting I realized that I have an audio interface, and like, you know, all the geeky side of me got inspired to improve but so many people are still like broadcasting from their webcam with horrible microphone, and it's just a basic thing. It's like, so, and not to talk about the fact that most of the theaters have zero tools to translate art to the online world. So it's like, yeah, we are lagging behind. We are just not on the forefront of the technological innovation. So maybe that's one reason.
Yeah, that's for sure. There are theaters where is no internet. So we had that experience because we need the internet for controlling the robot, and we had to bring our own. So it was a big theater. I think nowadays it's different, but it was 2 years ago. So and I think it's also what I also think at that place, especially with dance, is that technology is expensive, and there is so little money in fundings for dance. So it's very hard to also buy technology or get in touch with technology. You need corporations, but this would be possible, but people are not so interested in it. But I'm also very wondering about theater, like other things around dance. It's in other countries a little bit more, but in Austria it's really far behind. So a lot to do. But yeah, let's see. Maybe it's also not the most important topic for theater. I'm asking myself those questions. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, like one thing that I experienced, and I don't know if you can identify, but part of the process of getting funding is kind of self-convincing yourself that what you're doing is very important. So you hardly meet an artist that says like, look, I'm busy with this. It's really unimportant, but for me, it's interesting. No, it's always like, I'm doing the most important thing that we have to. But I'm a little bit more like convinced about the importance of your project. That's why I also wanted to host you here. But it's you know, it also opens the question of like, would what we do as artists, like to which degree we can have a significant impact with art to reflect on these processes, because most of it, I don't know if people who are fully into developing those technologies are in, you know, I can just imagine, and maybe you could identify that when you're in a creative process, you're so engaged with the actual creativity that sometimes you don't really fully take the time to reflect exactly on what you're doing because you're so immersed in the creative process. And if your creative process is developing technology, maybe you're not so much interested in reflecting on technologies that are being developed, but you're more interested in the creativity aspect. And then, and then you just created a beast, and now we have to deal with it somehow. And
that's true. Yeah.
And who knows where it's going to go. So where are you guys going with the project? Because you said like you got now funding from the Emma Zieben for a year, which is this going to be for you a means to develop to further the research specifically with the group, or are you interested to use it more for an individual research, or like how?
Yeah, it's more for my individual research. It's really about the complex of artificial bodies in general, and I'm not sure where I will go. So I bought a own robot, a small one, a sleeping robot. It's next to me. It's a sleeping robot.
What does a sleeping robot mean?
It learns. It is intelligent, and it learns how your breathing is, and it's like I can show it, but I also explain it. It's like a big bean. It's a big bean. It's like the size of a baby, you know. It looks like a big bean, and it just breathes. It expands and it inhales and exhales. And it learns. It has a sensor, and it learns your breathing. and then it adapts to your breathing, and this is relaxing. So you go to bed with this thing.
Okay.
So it's for sleeping better. And
to improve your sleeping. Okay.
Yeah. So improve your sleeping. It's really made for that. And I saw that and I thought, okay, I have to buy that. And it's very,
experiment
very
with it.
So I have different things in mind with artificial bodies, which can be very spread out, but it's connected to H.A.U.S, to the group for sure. But there is another thing that we got a funding also for this AI project. So we will work in this year the AI. So develop this improvising AI. This is what we are doing concretely with H.A.U.S, but the other one is for my personal research. Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, so I guess I would have to keep following your work on the individual level to see what will come out with this sleeping robot. No, it's pretty, like I think like on one hand I have the impression that I'm a little bit connected to technology, but then I realize how I'm also disconnected. Just to imagine that somebody is actually spending time to teach people to create a machine that will help people to sleep. I don't know. I feel like just teach people how to breathe. I don't know. It's like, it's such a crazy word.
It's really crazy, and yeah. But I think this is also a positive thing. It's weird. I don't want to take it to bed with me. I'm a sofa and couch, okay, but not to bed. But if it helps people, and I can imagine from my knowledge of breathing and body, etc., I can really imagine that this helps. So this is a very good combination, I would say.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that was kind of my sarcastic being that is like immediately criticizing it. No, for sure, like technology, I don't want to sound as like an anti-technology. It definitely helps us, many people in many situations. For me, as somebody, again, like who is really primarily coming from movement education, I feel that it's such an underrepresented topic in society that no wonder that we have this need to develop all those, like virtual experiences to feel connected, because we just don't have the ability to do it in our daily life. But yeah, it's a whole new discussion. So I was wondering if you want to share a little bit with the audience, like, things that they might be able to see, read, interact with your project. If people are curious from this conversation, where they could meet you, or like what things are planned for the futures that people maybe can also participate. Or so if you want to take some time to share, like, what is happening in your world for people to join.
Yeah, so at the moment we don't have really like productions that we show to audience, but they will come. But we do not have fixed it now because we have to development before and research before. But on my website, which is Eva-Maria-Kraft.at, there is always an update about my projects, and also I have a newsletter. So if somebody wants to get it, you can write to me. I'm also on Facebook, so I'm posting sometimes or normally if there are projects for audience or for workshops or whatever, I post it there regularly. And also the H.A.U.S blog. We have a blog of our group, the H.A.U.S. Blog is very detailed because it's also scientific. So all the scientific publications are also on there. So it's a very complex blog, but it's very a good. It's really a blog, an updated blog. Yeah. So there you can read a lot, and I'm always happy with personal contact. So everybody can visit me anytime, or we meet online or whatever. So I'm very interested in talking on. Yeah, and hearing what people think about this topic. So, like you do, that's
any plans to do some dance classes about this topic, or you're gonna? Is it crippling into your improvisation classes?
Yeah, I really love to. It's always the thing. Should I add the robot concretely? Then it's another story, or will I do it abstract, so without the robot, and think about these things or reflect with people about these things? And this is what I'm also planning for the next year, but it's very unconcrete still. So yeah, best is to check out my sites, websites or whatever regularly, or just get in touch with me. That's always the best thing.
Cool. Hey, Eva, thank you. I feel like that I would have to invite you again to see what came out with the sleeping robot.
That's great.
And hopefully I can see you live somewhere presenting something. Thank you for coming. It was really nice to hear you.
Yeah, thank you, Martin, for this nice experience and also the invitation. I really appreciate this work you do and this podcast you do. I really like that. Very nice. Thank you.
It's a big pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
If you want to see more precious and insightful moments, make sure to check our short clips playlist. To see longer interviews, check out the full episode playlist just below it. And to be notified for all future videos, click the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the notification bell. See you on the next episode.